Welcome to your Farm and Home Show. My name is Joanna, and today we're visiting with Kristin Hildabrand, Warren County Extension Agent for Horticulture. And Kristin, today we're going to talk about a vegetable that I think sometimes gets overlooked in the fall.
Yes, I was going to say, I know that winter squash season is right upon us. You know, it seems like winter squashes start appearing at the farmers markets, and then you see them more at roadside stands this time of year. Generally, we start to see them late summer all the way into the fall season. And I think that they are sometimes really underutilized, you know, but then when you start looking at the health benefits and some of the uniqueness and creativity behind these winter squashes, I think it makes you encouraged to eat more of them at home. And one of those that I think that is super cool is one that's known as Delicata squash. And this one's really interesting because it's kind of been coming on the scene here a little bit more in the last couple of years. But I feel like the reason why it's so popular is because of the taste. You know, a lot of winter squashes, it's in that same category as the winter squashes that we find, but this one has a real thin, delicate skin. That's why they call it delicata. And so a lot of the times the texture of this is described, the flesh is orange, but a lot of times it's described as pretty sweet, almost sweet as honey. So this one gets a, you know, common name referred to as sweet potato squash, and it has more of a nutty flavor to it. So the skin is described that way as having a nutty flavor. So I think the sweetness from the inside flesh and then that nutty flavor on the outside, it makes it pretty unique and, you know, kind of leaves foodies and things kind of wanting more of it.
Absolutely, because I think it has some qualities that the sweet potato doesn't have.
Yes.
You know, one, you get seeds out of it. You can roast those seeds. But the other is just the shape. Because, Kristin, it's a more elongated shape, right?
Yeah, it's a cylindrical shape. You know, a lot of times with these winter squashes that we commonly find here in Kentucky, that skin is a lot thicker. So with Delicata, it's so much thinner, it makes it easier to slice in comparison to some of those. So it's kind of unique in the fact that it's white. It can be more of a, kind of depending on your variety that your grower is growing, it can have some of that green uniqueness to it. And like I said, it's pretty unique in the colors that it has. If you're shopping at the farmer's market or going to a, you know, specifically the farm to look at winter squashes, make sure you check out this one because I think it'll be one that you will definitely want to try. Now, if you can't get a hold of that particular one, Joanna, there's plenty of other winter squashes out on the market. I think some of them are a little bit more common that we typically associate winter squashes with, but there's acorn squash. It kind of looks like an acorn if you look at the shape of it. It's a little bit darker green, you know, the skin is, but on the inside it's got that light orange yellow skin that makes it pretty attractive for roasting and things like that at home. I think everybody feels pretty comfortable with pumpkin, but then there's also spaghetti squash and butternut squash. There's even some other squashes like Hubbard squash, and I've seen some turban squashes and things like that. So you really can find a lot this time of year, but again, these winter squashes traditionally have a thick skin to them, so they're going to last for, you know, 2 to 3 months, sometimes a month to 2 if it's a little bit thinner squash.
And I think that's one of the things that makes it attractive, because you can purchase this and then you can keep it as long as it's in a cool, dry place for a long period of time.
I'm so glad you mentioned that too, because the storage life, because, you know, it's like we want to keep it as long as possible. You do want to store it in a cool, dry spot. And then, you know, too, whenever you're selecting this squash yourself, make sure to avoid anything that looks any kind of soft spots, or because, you know, generally, you know, that will lessen the life of that squash. But, you know, all of these squashes, I know it depends on, you know, kind of their genetic makeup and things like that, but generally most of these squashes are going to be pretty healthy and nutritious for us. You know, they carry vitamins A, C, as well as potassium and plenty of fiber. And, you know, there's a lot of great ways to cook with winter squashes this time of year. I think it just depends on what your taste buds. You know, there's some more savory winter squash recipes as well as some more sweet.
And I think that's probably the holdup for people trying winter squash, is they just really don't know how to prepare it. But I know we have some recipes here at the Extension office that can help out with that.
Yes, we have Plated Up Kentucky Proud recipes, so give us a call if you would like some of those recipes just to try out and test. They've been all approved, so it's a great way to test those out.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.